Good morning and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis for 1st of May 2021 with me Jatin Verma. So guys, in today's daily news analysis we are going to talk about Kyrgyzstan Tajikistan border dispute over a water issue. Then we are going to talk about Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So these things we are going to talk about in today's daily news analysis. Now there are one or two good editorials also, but these editorials are talking about the government's clampdown on information. As you can see here, the front page news here: do not clamp down on citizens' SOS calls via social media. So if citizens are trying to reach out to press reporters, so states should not clamp down on this kind of an act by the citizens. Now, center to train doctors in remote areas, and then many of these states have postponed. Almost all these states have postponed the rollout of vaccine for 18 to 45 age group. We can see yesterday we saw a lot of chief ministers, including Delhi chief minister, Punjab chief minister, then Madhya Pradesh chief minister, announcing that the 18-45 age group vaccine program would not be rolled out because of the reason that the private drug manufacturer has not been able to produce and make the drug reach the respective states in the due course of time. That is why the program for rollout of vaccination has been postponed. So these things are there. We are going to talk about them. Then former Attorney General Soli Sorabji passes away. Well, this is a passing news for us, but we need to revise the Keshwanand Bharti case and other things from the UPSC's point of view, because it has been observed that whenever such legal luminaries die, so the issues around their career, issues around the work that they did in the course of their tenure is the debatable, is the interest area for UPSC civil services prelims exam or mains also. Demand for Manrega work spikes. So in this case, demand for Manrega work is increasing. Why? Because of the reason that workers are reverse migrating to their native towns and villages. Centre owes special responsibility to Delhi. Supreme Court says that why the oxygen allotted is less than the oxygen required in Delhi. Even as the requirement of oxygen in Delhi is around 700 MT and people are dying because of gasping for oxygen, but central government has been overlooking the Delhi's demand of oxygen of 700 MT. So that is why the central government has got a reprimand from the government. सरकार की तरफ से फटकार लगी है, केंद्र सरकार को सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तरफ से फटकार लगी है कि why you are not giving the required 700 MT of oxygen even as this is required. Now coming to the other aspects, Reliance Q4 profit more than doubles. This is not non-news for us. April GST collections may go up. This is a kind of passing news article relevant only for your awareness. As a UPSC aspirant, you should only be aware about this thing. None of the other things are required. इसके अलावा और कुछ नहीं करना. Non-food credit growth. Non-food credit growth, that means the credit growth for purchasing appliances like electronics etc. has come down. Non-food electronic growth, credit growth slows down in March. Pace eases to 4.9%. So this is a kind of signal for recession. People are not borrowing credit for नॉन फूड पर्पसेस. नॉन फूड पर्पसेस से क्रेडिट ना लेने का मतलब ये है कि इन चीज़ों के लिए लोग वॉशिंग मशीन, एयर कंडीशनर, लैपटॉप, पर्सनल कंप्यूटर परचेज करने के लिए पीपल आर नॉट बोरोइंग मनी. सेकेंड वेव में डेंट हाउसिंग सेल्स रिवाइवल. Yes Bank posts quarter 4 loss of rupees 3788 crore. Not important for our purpose. Yes Bank has already been the no bank because of the fraud by its previous CEO Rana Kapoor. So this is a passing news. Now coming to the motivational quote for the day, it is going to be in Hindi. यूं ही नहीं मिलती राही को मंजिल, एक जुनून सा दिल में जगाना होता है. पूछा चिड़िया से कैसे बनाया आशियाना, बोली भरनी पड़ती है उड़ान, बार बार तिनका तिनका उठाना पड़ता है. तो जो तुम लोग छोटी छोटी सी डिटेल्स इधर उधर से बिट्स एंड पीसेस व्हाट यू गैदर इन द कोर्स ऑफ योर यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन, इट मीन्स दैट यू आर taking that flight again and again, like a small bird in the sky who is in the process of creating its own nest. तुम्हें अपना आशियाना घोंसला बनाने के लिए, एक छोटा सा घोंसला बनाने के लिए चिड़िया को बार बार उड़ान भरनी पड़ती है। तो तुम अपने यूपीएससी आईएएस के ड्रीम को ये सोच सकते हो, मैनी पीपल वुड एनकाउंटर फेलियर्स, मैनी पीपल वुड एनकाउंटर डिजेक्शंस, मैनी पीपल वुड एनकाउंटर a lack of inspiration, motivation from the surrounding people. So you have to have your own josh in your hands. Okay, you have to have that fire in your belly in order to hunt for this dream of becoming the IAS officer. As you can see, the situations around us are not normal. The role that a civil servant can play, be it an IAS, IPS officer, the role that you can play as a civil servant is unmatchable in any other profession. Be it a well-paid private job, be it a well-paid other government jobs. But IAS, IPS, the role that they are playing during these adverse times, it is unmatchable in any other profession. So the Udan is worth it. Now coming here, important news articles. Demand for मनरेगा work increases. हाई कोर्ट ने सेंटर को ऑर्डर दिया है. हाई कोर्ट ऑर्डर्स सेंटर टू इंक्लूड रेमडेसिविर इन scheduled drugs. Okay, Varun Singh, I'll be particular about your demand, bache. The things are messy at my end also, so that's why. Supreme Court raises concerns over vaccine pricing. Then, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan water dispute or border dispute because of the water issue. We are going to study this. How the medicines are priced in India. What is the role of National List of Essential Medicines? What is the role of National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority? What is the role of Central Drug Standards Control Organization in the pricing of essential drugs in our country? Section 92 of Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Section 100 of Drugs and Cosmetics Acts. These things are some minute details which I am going to tell you about in today's daily The Hindu News Analysis with me. Exemption for oxygen concentrator imports. April GST collections may go up to rupees 1.2 lakh crore. March core sector sees rebound on base effect. Non-food credit growth slows in March. All these topics we are going to see. Then editorials. This editorial is a good one. I want you to read this yourself. This is again criticizing the government, Election Commission of India as to felled by insensitivity, incompetence. Many news articles, as you can see today, these days, they are criticizing the government for misprioritizing its needs, misprioritizing or ignoring the small elephant in the room called COVID-19. Why the elections were conducted, why there was a mad rush of rallies by Prime Minister, by Home Minister just before the elections, just before the second wave of COVID-19. Well, the government can say that nobody knew that such a kind of catastrophe was in the room, it was in the development, but the gross negligence in the form of Kumbh Melas, and despite the warnings by Parliamentary Standing Committee that there is going to be an oxygen crunch if ever the crisis of this kind of proportions is observed. If the COVID-19 first wave gave us the lessons, why were those lessons not learned like a poor UPSC aspirant? So first wave of COVID-19 gave us early warning signal that if ever second wave comes, we would be having scarcity of oxygen. Then also the government was busy prioritizing money and resources on temples, on murtis, and on new Parliament Vista project. That money could have been diverted for another oxygen plant. Why Kejriwal government in Delhi was spending crores and lakhs and crores of rupees on government advertisements? While not to talk of Congress, which is not worth mentioning here, but these political parties which are in power, as they are called establishment, we have the legitimate reason to criticize the party which is in power. That is why we can say that it is not bad to be anti-establishment. It is bad to be anti-BJP or anti-Aam Aadmi Party, but the netas need to change their way of working. The politicians need to change their way of working by not becoming so media hungry or publicity hungry. They should be hungry for doing the real work, that is good education, good hospitals, and good preparation for these adverse times. Now these two articles are again criticizing UP government and the suppression of facts and figures by the government. This article says that India must be transparent about COVID-19. When we see the international media like Australian newspaper, the Australian and the other newspapers of America also criticizing Prime Minister Modi for choosing between, when he was made to choose between the public, you can say the welfare for the public during these adverse times or protecting his own image, he chose the latter. That means he is choosing the protecting of his own image. The international media is criticizing India's management, especially Prime Minister Modi's crowd hungry nature for mismanagement during this time. As you can see, these not so, what to say. Now, ignoring this, let's move forward to other things. Mind maps, you can download the mind maps from JV's IAS Telegram channel. Okay, Ritu Solanki, please don't pay heed to these kind of things. That is there any chance of postponement of CSE 21? You can postpone the exam, but there is no reason for being lax in your preparation, being relaxed in your preparation, thinking that the exam would be postponed. So COVID-19 is like a kind of unexpected thing. So unexpected thing can go away with unexpected medical innovations also, or in the coming days if the government comes up with a very good response, UPSC may not postpone the exam. So you should not postpone or procrastinate on your preparation. Done. So this is my advice to you, because last time also many people were expecting in August 24 that the exam would be postponed, but it wasn't. However, the chances are very likely that as the interviews have been postponed, the exam might as well be postponed. But as a student, you should continue your preparation. So these mind maps are shared on JV IAS 10. That is our official Telegram channel of JV's IAS Academy. You can download the mind maps from this channel. Current people, Karen state है एक म्यांमार में, it is the name of a state in Myanmar. Ethnic Karen guerrillas said they captured a Myanmar army base today near the border with Thailand. Guys, as we all know that situation in Myanmar is not well because of a civil war like situation going on, being witnessed in Myanmar between the Myanmarese military junta and civilians. So Myanmar military junta has been trampling upon the freedoms of the people. Okay, so these things are there. Now, ethnic Karen guerrillas said they captured a Myanmar army base. KNU, Karen Guerrillas Army, you can say, which controls the territory in eastern Myanmar near Thailand border, is a close ally of resistance movement against military takeover. So this is like on situation in Myanmar. Article 217 of the Constitution of India. Another mind map on 217 on the appointment of judges, and this is related to judiciary. So you can read these mind maps by subscribing to my Telegram channel JVIAS10. I'm investing a lot of my time and effort into making these. These mind maps are not that information, you can say that they are not those miserly maps on information. Sufficient amount of information is provided in these mind maps so that you do not have to go back to your book. Okay, I could have concised the information, but that would have led to improper revision or not so good a revision. So this mind map is sufficient enough. You can prepare your own mind maps also so that you can revise things easily. Now, this is the Telegram channel, and for those who are struggling to find the newspapers, you can subscribe to this Telegram channel JV in Shorts. Okay, so this is another channel. We are sharing the Hindu PDF newspaper Indian Express on this in Shorts channel. And for any other query for UPSC, you can reach out to me or my team on this number 8829323364 for GS batch or for current affairs or for any other course on JV's IAS Academy, current affairs roundup for 2020, full year course on current affairs, or my polity course, economy course. You can find the relevant information on this official channel. Now coming here, polity and governance related issues, GS mains paper 2. Demand for Manrega work increases. What is in this news article for our purpose? Even though this is another spicy chatpata news article for people who want to debate on it, demand for Manrega work so far in the month of April has increased to 2.57 crore households. So the fact is, for prelims you have to understand Manrega offers 100 days of employment for household, not for every person in the household. Okay, Manrega जो है it offers the job to one person per household. 100 days of work every year per household. Even if it is a wife or husband, only 100 days of work would be given. 50 to wife, 50 to husband, or 100 to husband, 100 to wife, either ways. 92% higher. The demand for Manrega work when compared with last year is 92% higher, and a record high for April since 2013. This shows the dependency on Manrega during the crisis times like COVID-19. This indicates the extent of reverse migration from the lockdown states to their native states. The government had allocated rupees 73,000 crore in this year's budget for the Manrega, nearly 34.5% lower than last year. Even though the government's allocation in the budget was lower, but the demand seems to be increasing. However, the government is committed to allocating more funds to the rural jobs scheme Manrega if needed. So what is in this news article for our purpose? Conclusion is the demand for Manrega increases during the recessions like COVID-19 induced recession or any other type of recession as the reverse migration increases. This is the only thing we need to memorize out of this. And while writing in favor of the government, if mains exam, we talk about the mains examination, you have to show the commitment of the government that government would allocate more funds for rural job scheme if needed. Government's commitment to the Manrega is impeccable here, undoubtful here. That's it. Now, some facts about Manrega. In Manrega, the material to labor ratio was in MG Narega, material to labor ratio was earlier 60-40. Labor to material. It is 60% of the money from Manrega should be spent on labor because it is a labor intensive program, and 40% of the money should be spent on material like cement, crane, etc. Okay, hiring of a crane, cement, etc. Heavy machinery, even though, is not allowed for usage in Manrega because if crane or bulldozer will do the work, if the machine will do the work, then if the machinery will do the work, then there is no need for the labor. But when the Modi government came to power, rightfully realizing that Manrega is leading to creation of not so good assets, not non-durable assets as we may call them. With every monsoon, the assets created under Manrega used to get washed away. Okay. So these assets, they used to get washed away with every successful rainfall. Now the problem that happens is that with every successive monsoon, the assets created under Manrega used to get washed away. So that is why the labor to material ratio was tinkered with. Now it is 51% labor and 49% material. By spending more money on material like bricks or like iron rods, जिसे हम सरिया कहते हैं, it will lead to creation of better assets. Clear? So this is there. Then coming here, person days of work created, work demand. Demand is outpacing the supply of Manrega works. These things are there. Coming to the other things, solutions to reverse migration. What are the solutions to reverse migration? Reverse migration का example है. The example of reverse migration is people from Bihar, first they go to Punjab in search of harvest season jobs. In search of jobs during the harvest season in Punjab. Wheat harvest season was approaching, as you all know. Okay, now they are reverse migrating back to their native town. So what is the solution to this? So solution lies in market-based opportunities alone, as there are massive regional inequalities when we consider underdeveloped pockets of India like Jhansi, Vidarbha region, where regions with higher population growth have dubious distinction of being underdeveloped. Registering returnees and their skilled levels and collating job opportunities in the projects funded by the central or the state government. So this is there. Now, other things are here. Interstate Migrant Workers Act. The act which captures all this is Interstate Migrant Workers Act. Last year, around the same time, in the month of April and May, we were talking about the same act. That act is not properly implemented. Interstate Migrant Workers Act and Building and Other Construction Workers Act. These two acts require the state governments to capture the number of laborers flowing to and fro from these states. If people are migrating from Bihar to Punjab, then as per Interstate Migrant Workers Act, Punjab should be having a database of these workers, so that during the distress times like these, during the distress migration induced by COVID-19, triggered by COVID-19, government should be having a database. Last time you remember that there was a news that 9 workers from Madhya Pradesh, they were mowed down by a train, right? Why? Because there was no database. People could not be evacuated. People who wanted to come back to their place of origin, they were left hapless by the government. They were rendered unattended by the government. Okay, so building adequate capacities at the grassroots level for identifying employment opportunities early and anticipating skill requirements at the levels of districts is critical for an outcome focused training or skill training system. Now coming here, what are the push and pull factors? Push factors are those factors which push the people away from their native place, from their place where they presently are, to other areas. Pull factors are better employment opportunities, as many people they migrate from rural areas to urban areas. Why? Because there are big malls, shopping malls, electricity is there 24/7, good transportation, better standard of life, and most important, better employment opportunities. Push factors are like drought prone rural areas where agriculture is no longer a possibility. So these things, they push the people out of the native places. Government needs to work on disabling these push factors or neutralizing these push factors to the maximum extent possible. So herein comes the idea of Pura. Pura was the brainchild of our great statesman, Honorable Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He said that we need to create provision for urban facilities in rural areas. Provision for urban facilities in rural areas. If I were to say this euphemistically or metaphorically in Hindi, रूरल एरियाज को पूरा करने की ज़रूरत है. यानी कि वहाँ पे wholesomeness, standard of living, everything if you are giving, then you are completing an area. Pura in Hindi means completeness. Okay, so we need to have that sense of completeness in order for us to avoid this instances of people migrating from rural areas to urban areas. But given the global trade, given the global model of urban areas, global model says that, American or European model says that better growth will come, better standard of living would come, better GDP growth would come only if you migrate from rural areas to urban areas. While this could be proven wrong if we genuinely want the rural areas, the Gram Sabhas, or if we create the jobs in the rural areas, then many problems that we are facing in our urban areas, because of which COVID-19 is spreading like a wildfire, could be avoided. Moving on to the next news article, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So you can read basic details about this act here itself. High Court orders center to include remdesivir in scheduled drugs list. Now be attentive guys, I'm going to do the threadbare analysis of this article. Nagpur bench of Bombay High Court asked the center to include remdesivir in the list of scheduled drugs and to regulate its pricing. Bench went on to state that the provisions of Drugs and Cosmetics Act did allow the restriction or regulation of prices of a drug that was essential during a natural calamity. So Drugs and Cosmetics Act में ये provision है. This provision is very much there in the Drugs and Cosmetics Act that allows the restriction or regulation of the prices of a drug that was essential during a natural calamity or epidemic. Statutory backing of the regulation, government can, so there are two legal laws which allow the government to, central government to issue a notification to fix the rates of essential drugs during an epidemic. Legislation number 1 is Drug Control Act. Number 2 is Drugs and Cosmetics Act. As per these two laws, central government can issue a compulsory license for a company to produce that essential medicine in required amount, in required quantity. Issue is, till now not a single drug has been added to the scheduled drugs because the head of the government was busy politicking, or was busy more in politics and photo op and election rallies. Till now, not even a single drug, remdesivir or other drugs which are required for treatment of COVID or vaccination against COVID, they have not been regulated. Their prices have not been regulated. So government has been, or news media groups, certain news media groups have been asking about the lowering of the price or black marketing that is going on in the essential medicines for treating or for immuning yourself against COVID-19. Benefits of regulation: it will stop the extortion of money from families of COVID-19 patients. Even the oxygen, even an essential gas like oxygen could also be regulated. But government seems to be busy negating the criticism against the Prime Minister. The entire machinery has been so deployed so as to not to criticize just one person rather than finding the real solutions to the problems. It will stop the extortion of money from families of COVID-19 patients. Last time we learnt our lessons that when sanitizers and masks were being black marketed or they were being hoarded by the vested interest, we got our lesson that this could happen to drugs or oxygen. Now this time these things are happening, but the government seems to be stuck at A for apple, B for boy. They are not moving forward. It seems that we need another lesson in these type of epidemics, the third time or the fourth time, before they would learn XYZ of how to manage these type of crises. Related issues: how are the drug prices regulated in India? How are the drug prices regulated in India? National list of essential medicines. Every few years, every 2-3 years, the Union Health Ministry, which is now these days sponsoring Baba Ramdev for Coronil, right? Health Ministry, in consultation with experts, whether do we have any experts or not, question mark, draws up a national list of essential medicines. Experts are there, but they are not listened to at all, because we have an expert like Ramdev there. Now draws up the national list of essential medicines. In addition, under the Drug Price Control Order 2013, the government has special powers to bring any item of medical necessity under price controls. This provision was used to regulate the prices of cardiac stents or knee implants. That means we have done it in the past, but it was long ago, before the arrival of Satyug in India from 2014. This government is maybe not aware, or they don't want to do it, or they are scared of doing anything proper. Now these medicines deemed essential for the treatment of common conditions automatically come under the price control, under the Drug Price Control Order. Then, under the national list of essential medicines, the price of a total 376 drugs and 857 formulations are under price controls. That means the government controls as to on how much maximum retail price these drugs would be selling in the market. Okay, their maximum retail price is regulated. Why can't the government regulate the prices of essential drugs like remdesivir when there are increasing number of reports about the extortionary selling that is happening for these drugs? Somewhere we hear that remdesivir is being sold for 15,000 per injection. From some other part of the country we are hearing that it is selling for 25,000 rupees. So role of NPPA, it's said to be independent, but it is not independent. It is an independent body of experts in the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Fact to be noted for prelims, that NPPA comes under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. It enforces these prices and the availability of medicines under NLEM. So you should understand the correlation between the two. NLEM is imposed by, or its imposition, or its, you can say, execution is done by NPPA, so as to check the effective MRP of essential drugs in the market. Essential drugs are those drugs which are issued by DPCO, Drug Price Control Order, adds the medicines to National List of Essential Medicines, and then this list of National List of Essential Medicines is executed by NPPA. This is an institution, this is a list, this is the order. Okay, so Ministry of Health and Family Welfare issues the Drug Price Control Order. NPPA, Ministry of Chemical Fertilizers, implements this. Okay, now what formula is applied for determining the price at which a particular regulated drug should be sold? What is the criteria? Please focus. The DPCO follows a flawed criteria for arriving at the minimum price. This formula was arrived at during the Congress days 2013. This formula was revised. So I will explain this formula to you. If I were to tell you that the price of the drug would be regulated on the basis of 1%, on the basis of the averaging of all those drugs which have 1% market share. Suppose there is a drug called Disprin, or any other drug you can assume, Crocin or Disprin. Okay, if this Disprin version of Cipla, okay, this Disprin जो branded version है Cipla का, if that variant is able to, if that branded version is able to acquire, Disprin branded version is selling for 100 rupees. Disprin generic version is selling for just 2 rupees. So don't you think that in a country like India, elite people would be able to, elite people are at least 1% or more than 1%, है ना? At least they are 1%. So they would be buying the branded version of the Disprin. This would lead to Disprin having 1% of the market share. Now in arriving at the average price of the drug, 100 rupees drug would also be counted, plus 2 rupees drug would also be counted. Then let's say there is another version by Sun Pharma which is for 5 rupees. If this drug is able to acquire 5% of the total drugs, Disprin generic version का जो फॉर्मूला है, टोटल डिस्प्रिन्स अगर कंट्री में 1000 बिकती हैं और उस 1000 में से मान लो 1 लाख बिकती हैं, ठीक है, आउट ऑफ दिस 1 lakh, if 1% is being if 1% drug being purchased is branded version, then the price of this branded version would also be included. If Sun Pharma Disprin, which is of 5 rupees, is able to acquire 1% of 1 lakh, the total number of medicines sold, then the average price of this would also be added. This leads to a problem that 1% of medicine being sold, a company, if a branded company is able to sell as much Disprin as would amount to 1%, so 1 lakh का 1% कितना हुआ? 1000, right? It is quite easy to sell for a branded company, it is quite easy to sell 1000 medicines. This is what leads to 1000 Disprins on the basis of advertisement by Shah Rukh Khan, Sar Mein Dard Hua, Amitabh Bachchan, Dabur Lal Tel, right? On the basis of, you can say, rampant marketing. So this is what leads to companies' MRP, which is very high, being added to the process which is going to lead to the average price on which generic version of the drug would be sold by the other companies. Now that the average has got skewed in favor, समझ में आया? Average has got skewed in favor of the higher price. Let us suppose if this 100 was not included, then the average price would have been around 3.5 rupees, isn't it? Now that 100 is included, average price is going to be around 53 rupees. The benefit of this 53 rupees goes to the branded drug manufacturing company at the cost of poor man's pocket. गरीब आदमी की पॉकेट पे चोट पड़ती है. क्यों? क्योंकि ब्रांडेड कंपनी ने जानबूझ के फॉर्मूला ऐसा बनवा लिया कि अगर ब्रांडेड कंपनी अपनी ड्रग का 1% बेच पाएगी तो सभी ड्रग्स का प्राइस, जो एवरेज प्राइस है, वो ब्रांडेड कंपनी के ड्रग के प्राइस से प्रभावित हो जाएगा. इज दिस क्लियर नाउ everyone? This is clear. In a way, the price control works until the formula has been applied for a drug and NPPA has come out with the ceiling price. The drug continue to sell at the current price even if it is included in the national list of essential medicine. NPPA constantly keeps an eye on the prices of the generic drugs, prices of the drugs which are required for treating pandemics, epidemics or public health crisis like of डिजीजेज. जैसे मलेरिया की ड्रग है, अगर वो एसेंशियल है, ट्यूबरकुलोसिस की ड्रग्स हैं, वो ड्रग्स जो कि आम बीमारियों को, कॉमन डिजीजेस को ट्रीट करने में यूज आती हैं, उन सभी ड्रग्स के प्राइसेस को रेगुलेट किया जाता है. Now, Regulation of Drugs and Cosmetics. Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and Rules 1945 have entrusted various responsibilities to central and state regulators. It envisages uniform implementation of the provisions of the Act made thereunder. The term drug, as defined in the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, includes, points are important for prelims, guys, a wide variety of substances. As I said, gases also, oxygen, chemicals, hydrogen, etc. Okay, diagnostics, cost of x-ray, CT scan, etc. can be regulated by the government under Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Medical devices, coronary heart stent, hip implants, okay, heart stent डलता है ना, pacemaker, heart का pacemaker, coronary heart stents, all these devices, the prices of all these devices could be regulated by the government. The act defines the cosmetic as any product that is meant to be applied to the human body for the purpose of beautifying or cleansing. So, under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, the lead content in Not So Fair and Not So Lovely, Fair and Lovely cream, or Hi Handsome, so those type of advertisements that you see, lead is injurious, lead is cancerous, or it can lead to human brain memory retardation. So that is why the lead content or phosphorus content could be regulated in the beauty creams. However, it excludes the soaps. Okay, soaps and sanitizers are not included. Coverage. In 1964, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act was amended to include Ayurveda and Unani drugs. God knows if somebody is regulating coronil. As the name tells you that it is kuch na karo nil. Okay, the name is nil koro. So name should ideally be nil koro. Baba Ramdev, Unani, Ayurveda products, are they being regulated? This guy has been spreading the you can say rumors that this drug is efficacious, etc., etc. And ministers have been standing behind him as if they have been called up. They were called up by the Modi office that you have to go in the function by Ramdev, so that Ramdev should remain silent about the misdeeds or misdemeanors of the government. Section 16 of the Act defines the standard of quality of drugs. Section 17 defines misbranding. If Ramdev is misbranding that coronil is efficacious, so we should be dealing with him under Section 17 of the Act. A drug is considered misbranded if it claims to be of more therapeutic value than it actually is. Right? Example, Nil Koro. Now, manufacturer of a Dekho, coronil, why am I criticizing? There is something called as placebo effect. प्लेसिबो इफेक्ट है, तुम अपने घर में देखते हो या जब हम छोटे बच्चे होते थे तो हम क्या करते थे, मम्मी मेरे सर में दर्द हो रहा है, राइट, तो जानबूझ के कोई चाक मिट्टी की गोली दे दी जाती थी कि अब तुम ठीक हो जाओ स्कूल, है ना. अच्छा, हम भी ये कहते थे अब कोई बहाना नहीं बचा. रामदेव की दवा भी कुछ ऐसा ही काम कर रही है. प्लेसिबो इफेक्ट है कि तुम बस इस दवा को खा लो और तुम इम्यून हो जाओगे, बस तुम ये फील करो कि तुम्हें कोरोना नहीं होगा. बूढ़े लोगों के लिए, जो जिनका दिल थोड़ा कमज़ोर होता है, उनके लिए कोरोनिल बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही है. क्या? हौसला देने का. बिकॉज देर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ डिस्ट्रेस, पीपल आर लूजिंग हार्ट्स एंड सोल्स, इसीलिए थोड़ा सा एक इफेक्ट आ जाता है कि हाँ मैंने अब कोरोनिल ले लिया, अब मुझे कुछ नहीं होगा. मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑफ अ मिस ब्रांडेड ड्रग मे बी आस्क्ड टू सस्पेंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ द ड्रग अंडर सेक्शन 18. सो मिस ब्रांडेड ड्रग कुड बी स्टॉप्ड. सेक्शन 27 डील्स विद द फेक एंड एडल्ट्रेटेड ड्रग्स. The act requires the more of that ingredients of the drugs should be printed on the label. Section 22 defines the power of the drug inspectors. Section 23 defines the strict procedure. So we have dealt with this. Thing in a manner that it will be sufficient for you to write any answer in mains and to be able to recollect any information in the prelims examination. Institutions that are created under the act, under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, CDSCO, ये एक और बॉडी है जो डिस्को करती है, जैसे सरकार कहती है वैसे नाचती है. The why am I so critical? Food and Drug Administration of USA. The kind of drugs that are banned by FDA of US, they are allowed in India for testing on Newton ka chooha, as if we are like rats of Newton to be tested upon. So we are exposed to the drugs which are banned by another agency. The way the government arm twists the NPPA or CDSCO, it makes them do the disco on the sur and tal of the Prime Minister or the Health Ministry. That is not seen anywhere in the world except Pakistan. Approval of drugs, conduct of clinical trials, laying down the standards for drugs, control over the quality of imported drugs in the country, right? So this is the fragmented state. We have got CDSCO, we have got Drug Controller General of India, okay? So DCGA, then we have got NPPA. All these authorities they are they should be autonomous, but they are more often than not seen to be dancing on the tunes of government, be it Congress, be it BJP or any other government. Coordination of the activities of the state drug control organization by providing expert advice. Grant of licenses. CDSCO, what are the functions of CDSCO? It is jointly responsible for grant of licenses of certain specialized categories of critical drugs such as blood and blood products. CDSCO basically prescribes the standards that a drug has to meet. Okay, Central Drug Standards Control Organization, before it is finally approved by Drug Controller General of India. Okay, standards are prescribed by CDSCO, so you should understand the difference. Now, under what ministry CDSCO comes, and under what ministry DCGA comes, under which ministry NPPA comes, you have to answer in the comment section in order for you to be prepared for prelims. Yechuri, the CPIM leader, hits out at Modi government, says it must deliver or resign. It has lost the moral authority to remain in the office. But the problem is, we should not be blaming Prime Minister Modi for what is happening to a large extent. Okay, we can hold him guilty, or we can hold Home Minister guilty for not wearing masks in the public rallies or for allowing the public congregations like Kumbh Melas. Okay, we could not envisage this kind of a situation, but the way with which the government is suppressing the information, the way in which the entire government machinery, instead of focusing upon how to come out of the situation, seems to be directed at how to protect Modi. Right? Even though Prime Minister is healthy and wealthy, he does yoga in the morning, he is all immune. But why the hell are they protecting Modi? They are protecting him against criticism. So vulnerability to virus is not as much as vulnerability to criticism is there for Mr. Modi. He is immune against all the viruses except the virus of criticism. So this is another virus, क्रिटो वायरस, जो भी कोविड-19 की जगह क्रिटिसिज्म 19 कह सकते हो इसको, जो कि एक ही आदमी को खा रहा है नाउ. तो नरेंद्र मोदी गवर्नमेंट मस्ट डिलीवर और क्विट. दूसरी चीज़ जो है, पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी, जिसमें सीताराम येचूरी भी शायद थे या नहीं थे, अप्रैल 2020 में ये बताया गया था कि ऑक्सीजन की कमी हो सकती है, देयर कुड बी स्कैरसिटी ऑफ ऑक्सीजन. नवंबर 2020 में दोबारा से नीति आयोग ने दोबारा से ये कहा, नीति आयोग के अंदर ग्रुप बनाया गया, एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप बनाया गया, थिंक टैंक के अंदर ग्रुप बनाया गया, दोबारा से उसने रिमाइंड किया कि ऑक्सीजन कमी हो सकती है. ठीक है, फिर भी कुछ नहीं किया गया. समझ रहे हो? Who is answerable to people who are losing their relatives, their near and dear ones, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, siblings? So this is the state of affairs. Now, even as the crisis is happening, the graceful thing would have been to admit that yes, we are not prepared and we are doing everything that we can. Okay. Now, the poster boy of Delhi should also be taken to task here, Mr. Kejriwal. The big posters, even as Delhi was all aware that this parliamentary standing committee report has come in, Delhi also did not revive its own oxygen plants. Problem in democracy is it responds to the crisis, be it the crisis of water. Now, we can't blame any leader, single leader here. The Congress, which ruled the nation for the better part of the last 50 years, 70 years, should also be held responsible. Why I am talking about these things is we should be having a national plan in which we should be talking about rail reform, oxygen plants, spending 3% on health, defense, Then water crisis, which is staring at India in 2030. The leader of 2030, it could be Yogi or any other Bhogi, should not be blamed in 2030. The leader of 2020 should prepare India as to how is it going to deal with the crisis. The beauty of Chinese system is that it is having one party system which responds to the crisis in a long term, medium term and short term manner. We in democracy are more myopic. We are able to see only till 5 feet, that is 5 years. We can't see 15 feet, 20 feet. 15 to 20 years planning in India is lacking. Every time a new prime minister or new government comes, they change the policies. They just change the name, the prefix. अटल योजना हो जाती है या फिर गांधी योजना हो जाती है. इससे आगे बढ़ते हुए 15 साल की योजना जो कि भारत को आने वाले क्राइसिस से बचाएगी, उसकी प्लानिंग होनी चाहिए, राइट? So these things are there. We cannot fault just one leader, be it Prime Minister Modi or the incumbent chief ministers in all the states of the country today. We have to look beyond and search for the solutions to the flaws of democracy. You cannot blame a leader. A leader has to ensure that he becomes victorious. Only then he would be able to do something for the country or for the welfare. And in the process of becoming victorious, he forgets about governance. This is not the problem of Modi. This has been the problem of UPA also, Congress also, Jawaharlal Nehru also, or any other prime minister or chief minister. Talk about free electricity, talk about free. For now, we are talking about oxygen. The moment this crisis would fade away, we would not be talking about it. So would be our leaders. We would be talking about 15 lakh in the account and other things. Now, she sends message to Modi, offers China's help. It is for the first such non-communication between the two leaders since the last year's border crisis at Pangong Tso Lake. A large number of orders for oxygen concentrators, ventilators and other medical supplies are in the process of being sourced from China. A first batch of 800 oxygen concentrators was flown in from Hong Kong earlier this week. And Chinese government is helping us, so is UK government, France, USA. Humanity is a community with a shared future. Only through solidarity and cooperation can countries around the world ultimately defeat the pandemic. The Chinese side stands ready to strengthen cooperation with the Indian side in the fight against pandemic. Now this is there. Supreme Court raises concern over vaccine pricing. The formula that I taught you was because of this reason also. Okay. Okay, Sandeep, it will be uploaded. Why can't center buy 100% of the doses? Now, Supreme Court asked why the government could not follow a national immunization program policy with respect to COVID-19. Court asked why the center had not procured 100% of the vaccines from the private companies and equitably distribute them across the country, but was instead leaving it to the private manufacturers. The center could not possibly enforce equity in vaccine distribution when center was itself buying only 50%. So what is happening if a private manufacturer is manufacturing 100 injection vials of remdesivir, 50 are being purchased by center and then allocated to the states. Remaining 50% are being purchased by hospitals or state governments. So the need of the hour is the central government should come to the forefront and purchase the entire lot of the full 100% of the vaccine. Manufacturers were charging rupees 150 from the center, while vaccines to the states were priced at rupees 300. The price difference becomes rupees 30,000 to the 30,000 to 40,000 crores. So central government, why is it shying away from spending another 15,000 crore rupees? पैसा नहीं है. निर्मला मैडम से पूछो क्या अकाउंटिंग चल रही है, नहीं चल रही अकाउंटिंग, राइट? नाउ मतलब पैसा कमाया नहीं है, आता नहीं था या जो भी था. इकोनॉमी का बैंड पहले ही बजा हुआ था. इकोनॉमी वाज ऑलरेडी इन tatters. The state of economic affairs was not being managed even before the COVID-19. Demonetization, flawed implementation of GST, all these things were happening. Now, why the center had not considered using powers under Section 92 of the Patents Act for compulsory licensing of the vaccines? Okay, so this is the third act related to health sector regulation in India, which we are going to talk about. To ensure the accessibility, the pricing of essential drugs is regulated centrally through Essential Commodities Act 1955. Section 3 of the Act, the government has enacted the Drug Price Control Order. The DPCO lists over 800 drugs as essential in its schedule and has capped their prices. The capping of prices is done based on a formula that we have studied. 1% formula. अब तो वो सबको आता होगा. Everybody must be knowing that formula which we have just studied in the last few slides. Now, regulating the price of COVID-19 vaccines through Drug Price Control Order. Regulation through DPCO is not applicable for patented drugs. Please be clear about this. Prelims point of view say this is important. Or fixed dose combinations. Regulation through National List of Essential Medicines is not applicable for patented drugs. Okay, this is why the price of antiviral drug remdesivir, which is a patented drug, which is currently in great demand for the treatment of serious cases of COVID-19, is not regulated by the government. However, the government could issue a compulsory license for remdesivir for generic drug manufacturing companies to manufacture it. Even though remdesivir is patented one by a private company, branded private company, which is manufacturing the branded version of remdesivir, if the government wants, government can increase the supply of remdesivir by issuing a compulsory license to manufacture, asking some generic drug manufacturing company like Sun Pharma or any other company to manufacture the drug in adequate number and quantity so as to meet the COVID-19 crisis. But somebody is busy managing his own criticism at the cost of lives of so many. On the intervention of the government, the major manufacturer marketeers of remdesivir injection had reported voluntary reduction in the MRP. Globally, the American biotechnology firm Gilead Sciences owns the patent for the drug. Okay, now government is mandatorily asking or strictly asking the company manufacturing the drug to reduce the price, but this is not the way to go here, considering the gigantic proportions which the COVID-19 is day by day scaling in India. Several pharmaceutical companies have obtained a license from Gilead to manufacture remdesivir in India. To bring vaccines or drugs used in treatment of COVID-19 such as remdesivir under DPCO policy, an ordinance can be brought. This government, which is known for bringing about record number of ordinances, जिस तरह से farm laws ordinances लाए गए थे, उस तरह से ordinance amendment लाया जा सकता है. But ये politically इतना ज़रूरी नहीं है, right? क्योंकि इसका बेनिफिट लिया जा सकता है 2002 की तरह. लीगल एवेन्यूज टू एड्रेस डिफरेंशियल प्राइसिंग फॉर वैक्सीन्स. द पेटेंट्स एक्ट 1970, which was mentioned by the Supreme Court, has two key provisions that could be potentially invoked to regulate the pricing of vaccines. Okay, so section 100 of the Patents Act, these minute details which are hidden between the lines, and I have pulled them out through the FAQ section of the websites of Ministry of Health and Welfare, so you have to read them very carefully. Section 100 of the Patents Act gives the central government the power to authorize any pharmaceutical company to use the invention for the purpose of the government. So this is very easy. Sunday class नहीं लेते क्योंकि research करनी होती है, ठीक है? So we have to also invest our time into reading so that we can come up with the better analysis, so that it is better for the people. There are many Tom, Dick and Harrys doing analysis every day. Sunday, Monday, उनके लिए हफ्ते में 8 दिन भी हैं, right? You can watch their analysis on Sundays and you can see the difference of quality between my analysis and the other analysis proliferating out there. Now in the month of May we will try to be regular, and I'm starting a magazine revision series wherein you will be able to revise all the editions of JV's IAS magazine for last 1 month only on my website www.jatinverma.org. Now This provision enables the government to license the patents of the vaccine to specific companies to speed up manufacturing and ensure equitable pricing. Under Section 92 of the same Act, which deals with compulsory licensing. Compulsory licensing is also important for WTO, okay? World Trade Organization. The government can, without the permission of the patent holder, अब नाउ पेटेंट होल्डर लेट्स से WTO ने कंपलसरी लाइसेंसिंग का मतलब क्या है? लेट्स से WTO के तहत रैनबैक्सी हैज ऑब्टेन्ड द patent of a drug called crocin. Okay, now government thinks that crocin is a drug which is consumed by masses to treat various ailments like mild fever, etc. Government will ask Ranbaxy to produce 1 lakh more, 1 lakh plus strips of this medicine. If Ranbaxy says I cannot produce at the price rupees 10, government says you have to produce it at rupees 10. Ranbaxy says I cannot produce it. Government will say okay, I am giving the formula to manufacture, formula that is registered with the Patent Authority of India located in Mumbai. Okay, तो Indian Patents Authority office के पास सारे formulas होते हैं. जो भी ये formulae हैं, they are registered with Indian Patents Office. The formula for manufacturing the crocin would then be shared with any company which is willing to manufacture the generic version of crocin. The name crocin will be changed. It will be written, the chemical formulation of the drug would be written on the strip of the medicine crocin, that this is the same formula, and the generic name would be used. If let's say crocin is a generic branded name, so the generic name would be different from the crocin, so that the medicine is available at an affordable price for the poor people. If the Ranbaxy says in the first place that yes, I am willing to manufacture the drug in the required quantity at the required price which the government wants to the drug to be sold at, then the compulsory license could not be given to the government. Cannot give the compulsory license to any other एरिया. यस, जो क्लासेस जूम पे हो रही हैं आजकल तुम लोगों के डाउट्स एड्रेस करने के लिए, वो jatinverma.org पे भी अपलोड होंगी, राइट? Okay, so these things are there. Now, Epidemic Disease Act. See, everything has been organized in a logical sequence today, and I have reduced the number of PPTs so that you can download it from JVIAS 10, the Telegram channel. And I have refined it further because I duly understand that prelims is approaching and you guys have lesser time available. So everything is logically numbered and organized in a manner that it becomes easier for you to study things. Epidemic Diseases Act 1897. Another legal route suggested by experts to regulate the pricing of vaccines is Epidemic Disease Act. I hope and I assume that the government the political executive is being advised by the health secretary about these acts. Probably they seem to be more aware about the acts which are having political repercussions, political benefits, but this is an act which is going to have political repercussions in the next elections. If you use it properly, people would be able to get medicines. They would not lose their relatives. They would be able to get medicines in adequate quantity. So I hope that Home Minister and Prime Minister are aware of these, and Health Secretary and other secretaries are guiding the government accordingly. तो ये अंग्रेज़ों के ज़माने के एक्ट हैं, जब प्लेग आया करता था तो तब के एक्ट हैं, लेकिन आज इनको यूज़ नहीं किया जा रहा. This has been the main legal weapon for the government in dealing with the pandemic. Section 2 of this law gives the government the power to take special measures and prescribe regulations as to dangerous epidemic disease. Apart from the legislative options, experts suggest that the central government procuring directly from the manufacturers could be the most beneficial route to ensure equitable pricing. Okay, so these things are there. Now, NPPA and its role. Here is mentioned everything, you can read it. Then GS course for UPSC CSE 2022 is starting from May 15, 2021. You can join this course which will cover the polity in the analytical manner, governance I am going to teach you, Indian economy, current affairs. Plus there will be self-study material also. 20 plus books will be provided to you which will help you in reading the material. So that's why we call it as a one-stop solution. My JV's IAS Academy's integrated GS course is the one-stop solution for handwritten notes, for class explanation of concepts involved in the topics, for prelims test series, for GS paper 4 ethics, and everything that is required for you to crack the UPSC CSE exam, provided you are hardworking. Provided you know what to read, we will be teaching you how to read and what to read, provided you are ready to give that 1 year which is required for this exam in a sincere and honest manner. Right? Every section of GS, including prelims, mains, every book that is required will be included in our course. To check out the details, you can visit www.jatinverma.org, or you can download the JV's IAS application. Clear? Now, international relations. Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan seek to ease cross-border tension. So the article has been so phrased that you'd be able to understand everything. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan are fighting with each other on the area that they claim around the water supply facility in Koktash. Koktash is a disputed area which Kyrgyzstan says that it is my area, Tajikistan says it is my area. Earlier, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan had open borders during the USSR era, Soviet Union era. Okay, so what led to the latest round of conflict? Surveillance cameras. The latest conflict erupted when the Tajikistani army attempted to mount surveillance cameras to monitor the water supply facility amid the tensions over water distribution. And Kyrgyzstan residents opposed the move. The Koktash area is in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan is fetching the water out of this area. Tajikistan officials are installing the surveillance cameras so as to check the unabated usage of water. More than 7,000 Kyrgyz residents have been evacuated from the area engulfed by the fighting as the troops from the two countries exchanged gunfire around a water supply facility near the village of Koktash, located in western Kyrgyzstan on the border with Tajikistan. What was the latest development? A ceasefire on the border between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan largely held on April 30. Abhi kya hua hai? Why are we studying this? A ceasefire between the two countries have been signed on April 30 following a day of intense fighting between the two ex-Soviet Central Asian neighbors. So this is there. अब तुम्हें disputed area ये है, disputed area Kyrgyzstan और Tajikistan border पे disputed area lies here. Now, border dispute between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, the background of it, you are going to read from the PDF that you can download from Telegram channel JVIAS 10. Okay, and our group was blocked because of the reason that we were, falsely complained of sharing the Hindu newspaper. I wanted to share the Hindu newspaper for the students who are not able to get the free PDF copy of the Hindu newspaper due to pandemic and due to its high price, 10 rupees per newspaper per day. So we were sharing the newspaper on daily the Hindu News Analysis group, but that group has been blocked by Telegram due to false complaints by Dhan Academy and others. So we have created a new group, Daily Current Affairs, the link of which will be shared on our main Telegram channel. I am talking about the group here. There is a Telegram group where you can exchange views, exchange material and talk to each other. Then there is a channel JVIAS 10. You can subscribe to this channel and you will automatically be able to see the daily current affairs group that has been recently created. Done. Now coming to the other aspects, this is the border area. You can see this. So guys, this was all in today's daily The Hindu News Analysis with me, Jatin Verma. I hope this analysis was of use to you. Do share it with your friends who are struggling to cover the newspaper in an effective manner, and be regular with this daily news analysis yourself so as to give direction to the preparation of current affairs for UPSC Civil Services exam. It was a pleasure teaching you all. Thank you guys. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Thank you.